The top 5 finishers at the Hastings 1895 chess tournament were invited to participate at St. Petersburg 1895-1896 chess tournament. Let me introduce the players. American chess master Harry Nelson Pillsbury was the winner of the event. Russian chess master Mikhail Chigorin ended up in the 2nd place. Emanuel Lasker, who was the reigning world chess champion, took the bronze medal. German chess master Qxd4 ended in the 4th place and the first world chess champion Wilhelm Steinitz in the 5th. Although at the last moment Tarrasch cancelled his attendance because of his duties as a medical practitioner, and so we have only 4 masters participating at the St. Petersburg tournament. Each player played 6 games against each of the others. Hello chess lovers! Soren here, and in this video I want to share with you the famous Pillsbury-Lasker encounter which was played in round 4 at 1895-1896 St. Petersburg tournament. This game has a huge historical value and the 2nd world chess champion Emanuel Lasker called it the best in his career. But before starting our game, make sure that you are subscribed in order not to miss my future uploads. Back to our main board where battle starts with d4. Lasker responded with d5, c4 e6, knight c3, knight f6, knight f3. We have the queen's gambit declined 3 knights variation and Lasker goes for semi-Tarrasch defense c5. The difference between semi-Tarrasch defense and Tarrasch defense is that now if you go for c takes d5, then black can recapture with the knight, thus avoiding getting an isolated pawn on d5. According to modern theory, c takes d5 and e3 are considered to be the most popular continuations, but in our game we have bishop g5 by Pillsbury, which was his favorite continuation. C takes d4, queen takes d4, knight c6, and queen h4. Well, nowadays the best move is considered to be bishop takes f6, and it is said that that same night when analyzing the game, Pillsbury also came up with bishop takes f6 continuation. But in our game we have queen h4, bishop e7, and Pillsbury castled queenside, which is a very risky and aggressive approach. Queen a5 and e3, not the best continuation. In here it's better to capture on d5, and if we move like e takes d5 then e4. This leads to an equal game. If bishop e6 then bishop c4. Okay, black can castle kingside, and this is a line suggested by the engine, and in the end of the day the players have equal chances. Let's go back, but in our game after queen a5 we have e3, bishop d7 by Lasker, king b1, h6. This h6 is doing nothing. Right now the pawn is pinned, but on the other hand, if you go for castling, then after bishop d3, if you play h6, then already a move like bishop takes h6 can follow. That's why after king b1 we first see h6 and c takes d5. Relying on the pin, white is proceeding with the game without paying attention to h takes g5, knight d4, black castled kingside, and bishop takes f6. At this point already moves like bishop takes h6 are not good because black has knight e4. Unlike the previous line, your knight is already on d4 and there is no bishop g5 move. That's why in our game after castling kingside we have bishop takes f6. Black recaptured, queen h5, knight takes d4, e takes d4, bishop e6, and f4 with the idea of harassing black's light squared bishop. But in return black put his rook on c8, and after white's f5 move, instead of moving away his bishop, Lasker went for a staggering exchange sacrifice and he captured on c3. Look at this beauty, guys. F takes e6, of course b takes c3 can be suicidal. Black can quickly finish up white. The second rook would come if f takes e6, then queen takes c3. Right now there is a very nasty queen c2 threat, and then if king a1 then bishop takes d4 followed by queen c1 checkmate. If queen e2 then bishop takes d4 with a mating thread. You can't give up your exchange this time. Queen c1 checkmate will follow, and all white can do is to give up his queen, but there is no hope to save the position. Black is winning. That's why in our game after rook takes c3 we have f takes e6. In return, white is winning. Black slide squared bishop, but now a question arises: how should black proceed? White didn't touch the rook, and that question keeps on hanging in the air. But the reigning world chess champion Emanuel Lasker found a spectacular continuation, and he put his rook on a3, although he found that move before going for an exchange sacrifice. This time he's targeting the pawn on a2. First we have rook takes c3 and then rook a3. What a rook maneuver, guys. This rook a3 may seem paradoxical, but it's absolutely precise. It takes f7 check by Pillsbury, which turns out to be an inaccurate defensive move. It turns out that this pawn performs an important service in blocking the e-file, and white therefore should keep it on the board. Instead, it's better to accept the rook sacrifice. If queen b6 check, then bishop b5. Even Garry Kasparov in his analysis in his book My Great Predecessors missed this move and instead suggested king c2. If rook c8 check, then king d2, and if queen takes d4 check, then king e1, saying that after queen c3 check, white is managing to save the position. But the interesting thing is that my great predecessors helped launch a remarkable series of post-mortems of classic games. One of the unlikely stars of this hyper-analysis is Sergei Sarokhtin, a St. Petersburg amateur who listed his profession as carpenter and his hobbies as chess, photos and beer. Sarokhtin challenged the predecessor's analysis, and Kasparov acknowledged that he was right in finding a win for black. Instead of playing queen c3 check, which allows white to draw the game, in this case black can't do anything, black should play queen e3 check. And now if a move like bishop e2, then f takes e6, and black is threatening rook f8 followed by bishop c3 check, or at some point bishop c3 can be played straight away. For example, if queen h3, then bishop c3 check, and then rook f8. If bishop f3, then bishop a5. A marvelous move with the idea of playing bishop b6 and supporting black queen. In this line, once on move 20 you are playing king c2, you are losing. That's why in here white should play bishop b5, a move which Sarokhtin managed to find in his analysis. And now if queen takes b5, then king a1. The idea of bishop b5 was to lure away the queen from this diagonal. And now if f takes e6, then queen h3. If queen e2, then white can either play king b1 or queen c3 is also playable. By the way, rook e1 is losing because of this bishop takes d4. Let's go back, but in our game after rook a3, instead of this defensive b takes a3 line, followed by bishop b5, we have e takes f7 check, which is allowing black rook to get activated. Rook takes f7, b takes a3, queen b6 check, bishop b5. So bishop b5 is on the board only after e takes f7, but in this case it's black who is winning. Queen takes b5 check, king a1, and rook c7. After spending so much energy and creativity to reach this position, Lasker under heavy time pressure makes a mistake. Instead of playing rook c7, it was better to play queen c4. And now if a move like queen g4, then rook e7 with the idea of rook e2. If queen h3, then rook e2 is coming and black is winning. Yeah, it's over. White can't save this position. By the way, I want you to see the difference. For example, you may ask, what if, for example, if we reached that position without e takes f7? For example, now if you go for b takes a3 and then bishop b5 and then king a1, what if, for example, queen c4. Then in this case, white has a nice defensive queen g4 move. The e-file is blocked and you can't do anything. If rook e8, then rook e1, white is managing to successfully repel black's attack. That's why that e takes f7 was a crucial mistake. But now let's proceed with our game. So after rook c8 we have f5, rook takes c3, f takes e6, rook a3, e takes f7 check, rook takes f7, b takes a3, queen b6 check, bishop b5, queen takes b5, king a1 and rook c7. So as I've already mentioned in here, queen c4 and even queen c5 is winning, but we have rook c7 and rook d2 neutralizing rook c2 threat. Rook c4, meanwhile black is intensifying the pressure on d4, and rook d1. Not the best defensive resource. Rook e1 is better, with the idea of trying to create a counterplay. Now white wants to go for queen e8 check. If move like queen a5, then rook e8 will follow this time, and then queen f5, and yes, this is a draw. King h8, queen e8 check, white can give a perpetual check. But in our game after rook c4 we have rook d1. Looks logical but is not strong. Rook c3. This time Lasker is making a mistake. Queen c6 is stronger, with the idea of rook c1 check, and if king b1 then bishop g5. But in our game we have rook c3, queen f5, queen c4 and king b2, which is losing. Well, looks like that white is neutralizing rook c1 threat, but instead it was better to play king b1. And now the idea is that if queen b5 check, then white can cover his king. But instead, after queen c4 we have king b2. As we have reached the critical position, please pause the video and try to find Lasker's next move. Although I think that from the title you have already guessed that move, and that move is an absolutely staggering rook takes a3. Who said that lightning never strikes the same place twice? There we have it. Lightning hit the same place twice, and now it's Lasker who is winning. Right now the threat is both queen takes a2 or rook takes a2 with mate to follow, and if you accept the rook sacrifice, then queen c3 check is coming. And yes, the similar mating line we will see in our game. So after rook takes a3 we first see queen e6 check, king h7, and only then we have king takes a3. By the way, this steps into checkmate in 5, and it was better to announce a check from f5 and then play king b1. By the way, you can't announce a perpetual check. There is this king h8 move. White can play king b1, and in this case white is managing to prolong his resistance. Let's take a quick look at this continuation, although even in this case white has little chances of saving the game. The rook endgame should be winning for black. But in our game after king h7 we have king takes a3, which allowed Lasker to bring into life the mating line with utmost accuracy. Here comes queen c3 check, and after king a4 we have a pawn sacrifice. King takes b5 is forced, queen c4 check, and after king a5 we have bishop d8 check and resignation followed. If queen b6, then bishop takes b6, or let's announce a checkmate with a pawn. As we sidestepped the main line too much, in the end would like to suggest to go through the winning combination once again. So it all started with rook takes c3 sacrifice, which was not accepted, but then rook a3 followed, and here how the game went on. B takes a3. White is accepting the first rook sacrifice on a3, and soon the second would follow again on a3. Rook c7, which was a mistake as I've already mentioned. Queen c4 was winning. Rook d2, rook c4, rook d1. White is strengthening the pawn on d4, which was an inaccurate defense. Rook c3, queen f5, queen c4, king b2, another inaccuracy. King b1 was better to cover the king with rook b2, but there we have it, the second rook sacrifice on a3. Queen e6 check, king h7, king takes a3, which allowed checkmate in 5. There we have it. Black is launching a king hunt, queen c4, king a5, and after bishop d8 we have a resignation because checkmate will follow on the next move. Inspired by this victory, Lasker won the tournament convincingly, and later that year he crushed Steinitz in a World Championship rematch, keeping his title for 25 more years. On the other hand, after this loss, Pillsbury collapsed and lost 5 games out of the remaining 8, ending up the third behind Steinitz, although it was he who was leading the tournament after the first half of the tournament. The reasons have been widely speculated. Pillsbury, who caught syphilis just prior to the start of the event, learned about the diagnosis just the very day before this fatal game and was heavily shocked. At any event, he himself complained of serious headaches, sleeplessness and neurosis, due to which several of his games were moved to different days. He would never achieve the same peak of playing strength as in that magnificent year, and died 8 years later at the age of 34. There was no Brilliancy Prize awarded at St. Petersburg tournament, so this game received no official recognition. This is it, dear chess lovers. I have to tell you that it took me way longer time to record this video, so I'll be very grateful if you will share with your friends as well and spread this video. Take care, and I will see you in my next video.